for me, it was somewhat, I want to say debilitating, where it was just hard because I'm very, I can be very extroverted, right? So I'm out there, I enjoy being around people, all that sort of thing. And now I'm not, right? And I'm locked up at home. Um, I don't want to say locked up, but I'm at home. So then there came a point where it's like, no, I need to do something. And that's when we moved the training and the internships and everything onto this platform, onto the online platform. And that it's been a beautiful thing. We're talking about our gratitude and what the things that we're grateful for. If you remember, the way we start the trainings is we do different well-being exercises, and that this one was gratitude. We're writing out our gratitude, 10 things we're grateful for. And one of those is this, because like this session, we have a person from South Africa. We have a woman from South Africa. We have a woman from Trinidad Tobago. We have another woman from Georgia. We have, and then just within California, we have someone from Riverside, someone from who's in Orange County. People who wouldn't normally take the training, they're taking the training now because of this platform. So it can be very much a vehicle to well-being. And I do see within it, our last cohort was our first one, and you saw, and I see the difference between the first and the second. Not saying the first one wasn't good, but we've come a long way, into making those connections and learning how to make those connections and being connected to the people when we're meeting on this platform as opposed to in person, which can be very different, but that doesn't mean that it's still not effective, and we're still able to connect. And some people are even able to connect better. They're more apt to connect in this platform rather than in the comfort of their own home, etc. It's easier to kind of to get dressed, undressed, right?
Right.
On this, when you're in your home, it's easier to let those guards down and open up and do those things a lot of the time, right? Rather than in a classroom setting or in an office somewhere, right? So there are a lot of positive aspects to it. And then there's a lot of us who isolate, when we're not feeling well. And when we're isolating, we're not feeling well, it's a lot easier to get online than it is to and have like real interaction, not just one way where we're just taking everything in, where it's bi-directional, right? And that makes a huge difference also.
No, I mean that's it's so important, because one of the things that I realized for myself, going to the thing about isolation, that's my own personal habit and comfort, is I, whether it's because of anxiety or pressure or depression, all of those things, for me, my natural behavior and my old self was to isolate. And I found myself, because my routine was gone, all the things that I naturally had built to help keep me from isolating, when they shut down in March, it took all away the things in my routine. So I realized I had to quickly, artificially create a routine to keep myself from isolating, and to keep myself just moving. And I came up with 6 things, making the bed, getting out for a walk, opening the window, things that just to keep a little connection with the world, because it was very difficult for me personally. But I started the recording, so I want to let people know what we're doing. My name is Don West Jr., and I am the founder of Knock Out the Stigma and the creator of the Wellbeing Exchange. And today we're having a peer profile with my big brother and a mentor of mine, who has taught me so much and pushed me so far along in my own personal well-being journey and mental health growth and development. And with us today is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Jason Garcia, big brother Jason Garcia. Welcome to the Wellbeing Exchange. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. It's very much. I'm very happy to be here, man. It's a pleasure. I haven't seen you in a while, and it's really good to see you. I've missed you. You're an inspiration. You're inspirational. You're motivational. Again, I am Jason Garcia. I'm training coordinator with Project Return Peer Support Network. Our organization, we're a peer-run mental health organization. So, from our director, on down to our administrative assistants. We all have that lived experience with the mental health issue. Um, so we're all in recovery, and it's a beautiful place. It's to work. It's a privilege to be around peers and just kind of have that connection. There's no stigma. We talk about knock out the stigma. So there is no stigma attached. Uh, when knowing that we all experience very, very similar things. Um, Again, I know we are talking a lot about on the whole this platform and well-being, etc. So it is good to be here, and this helps with my well-being, right? So I want to thank you, Don.
Well, that's why, and one of my earlier interviews, actually both of the interviews that precede this one, because this is our fourth uh, peer profile, and they actually say that the connection and the community, and actually this conversation is a part of our own routines of well-being, and it helps us. And we even watch our coach. We were all connected in a group at the West Central Mental Health Center in Los Angeles, over there off of Stocker, and our coach is Coach Marilyn. We call her Coach MJ, and we can see how much she gets out of the coaching experience and the community that's developed around the lived experience. Because the really cool thing about her as a practitioner, Jason, and it doesn't always happen, is she took the veil of the practitioner and the patient, or the practitioner and the client. And the thing that I always realize is everybody has a brain and everybody has teeth. So everybody goes to the dentist, but everybody doesn't acknowledge that they have mental health. They have a mental health portfolio. They have mental health issues. But as a practitioner, she was very human, and she would acknowledge that she had mental health challenges and that she had personal life challenges. Thus, with the practitioner training, she became a peer, and she was actually like a certified peer specialist, except for she's a marriage and family therapist who's being a peer. But it was a very different experience, because she was bringing her heart and her lived experience, and then giving us all of the tools, and so many tools. And we're going to get into it with it, which that you got at Project Return, that you deliver in that training program that you're overseeing, that I was so happy to be a part of. And one of the things I like to start out these interviews with is, do you remember how we met? What are your recollections of how you and I met? Tell our audience what you remember about that.
So the first time I met you was at a SAC meeting. I
Okay.
met you at a SAC meeting. I don't even know if you remember that, but
I
it
don't, but
was
that's why I asked the question, because
okay.
I don't even remember. I want to know what you remember.
Yeah, so we were at it was a SPA 6, a SAC 6, um, and not at West Central. It was at the other where Augustus Hawkins. It was
Okay,
at
over
Augustus.
Augustus Hawkins. Okay,
Yeah.
I only went to 2 meetings over there, so I'm kind of honing it down. I remember now. Okay.
So I met you there, and I was very impressed by you. I was very impressed by you. Um, yeah, I remember you speaking, and you spoke about your organization. You opened that up,
We were
and
getting
I
ready to
don't
do the
remember.
May is Mental Health Month affair over, I forget where we did it, but that's what we were getting ready for. That's what I was speaking about.
Yeah, so you were speaking about all that, and then but that's where I met you. That's where I first saw you, and then from there, then it was the program, the training program.
And the
Yeah.
training program that Jason runs, let me see. I thought I had it here on my screen. I'm going to share it so people can see. Where'd it go? Oh, I messed up. I don't want to share the wrong thing. They might be like, oh my goodness, what is Don into? But
Or they may be more interested in it,
that's
right?
true. They'd be like, hey, so we're working on a concept. We're calling it well-being after dark. So stand by. Hey. So the peer
Yeah.
professional training and placement program is where me and Jason really got to know each other. And you can find out more about it by going to their website at prpsn.org, and go to under services, training and consultation. You can get to this information here. But Jason runs that program, and I actually graduated from that program. And Jason, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about the program that you run, and what it is, and what its goals are, the overview.
Okay, so one, we train peers, that's people with lived experience who wish to enter the mental health human services field, right? Um, we've been doing that. Project Return Peer Support Network has been doing that probably for about 17, 18 years, longer than anybody else in Los Angeles County. I very biasedly say better than anyone in Los Angeles County. Uh, but and that's through no fault of my own. I came on to a well-oiled machine. I kind of just jumped on, and I've been riding that wave since then. Although we
How
do,
long? How long have you been with Project Return?
I've been with Project Return 5 years now.
Okay,
The 15th of November, it'll be 5 years. Yeah,
congratulations, man.
yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I really do. I truly, it's such a privilege again to be a part, get to be a part, even if it's a small part of people's lives. On people's recovery journey, right? So we see people, and I'm thinking of just just a few of your your cohort. I just think of the things that you all have gone on to do, and that I'm seeing you do and stuff like that. And it's just amazing to me that I got to be a small part of that and somehow live vicariously through you, right? um so we train peers again with lived experience. We try to we look for, so the things that we look for are someone who first identifies as a peer, right? So the person identifies as a peer, and they're in recovery with a good foundation, right? Ready, willing, and able to assist others on their recovery journey. um, Able to communicate verbally and writing, basic computer fundamentals, but most of all, we look for heart, right? We look for that heart and that passion, because although someone may identify as a peer, they may have been through a similar experience. We know it takes a certain type of individual to really want to have to assist others, right? Um, we know to sit and to assist others when they're at their worst, not when they're at their best, right? When someone's yelling and screaming at you and cussing you out, threatening you, doing all those things, it's like, how are we going to act in love rather than in anger or in fear, right? And I think that's one of the most important things is to know, is to have within us that, again, that heart to want to do that. So for some of us that may come naturally, for others it's something that must be learned. um and I don't know how this is at all how this all relates, but like last night I watched again, I love Robin Williams, right? I watched Patch Adams last night. Right. So his if you ever watch that movie, it really exemplifies the peer approach to providing services, to service provision, right? And it's just about being a human being and connecting on that human level, and knowing maybe I haven't gone through exactly what you went through, uh, but I've gone through something similar, that we all have those same feelings of no matter what may be going on, with any type of chemical imbalance or whatever may be going on with us. It's like I felt fear, I felt anger, I felt frustration. I want to be loved. I want to be accepted. I want to be acknowledged. I want to be seen. I want to be I want security. I want safety. I want security. I want healing. I want all these things, and that you want. We all want the same things, maybe not in exactly the same way, but we want the same things. So seeing that other person as us, it's like seeing them as us. And I can remember I was getting gas one night, and this guy, he was this huge guy, um, obviously experiencing, obviously unhoused, right? um and it's never obvious, right? I'm just saying, just by the lack of hygiene, stuff like that. And people were just so afraid of him, and he was having a conversation with his voices, right? And the people were just terrified of this guy, right? And it's like I felt I looked into his eyes and I just saw the pain, the pain. It's like it would have
Mhm.
been so much easier if he had been a little white guy, right? Because he was a brother, right? And we're conditioned in the United States to be scared of the black male, right? It's like,
And he was a big one.
yeah, exactly. Like 6'4", 6'6", big guy, right? And it's like I saw you see the pain, right? You see the pain and just know it's like, wow, how difficult that must be to persevere, right, under those conditions, to not just give up, right? It's like that's something, I mean, I've dealt with my whole life, is that suicidal ideation, right? Where when things get real tough, and they get real tough often for me, right? Um, that's where I go, right? That's where I go. That's my, and so I look at some people, and it's, I don't know, I don't know how they persevere, and I respect and I admire the strength that it takes to persevere through that. Um, and I think that's a big difference, and that's something that we know, and we learn, and just, and that's something that makes, when we talk about someone in this field as a peer, that makes the difference, right? When we know, whether it be there before the grace of God go I, that could be me, that is me. um Again, same feelings, etc. So back to the program. Because I will go off on a tangent. I will go off on a
That
tangent.
was an amazing tangent, because what you just, one of the things that you really embodied and brought to light and all that for people that are going to be getting exposed to peer concept maybe for the first time and seeing this video in one of the virtual mediums, is that in the AA circles, I've heard the term used, often an alcoholic will only listen to another alcoholic, right? And it's because of those experiences and that vulnerability that original alcoholic makes of themselves to say, I have this issue, let me tell you about what happened with me. And that's just what you're describing in this peer experience that we have in the mental health lane. We're talking about being vulnerable ourselves, letting our hearts be open to others seeing our experience, and then through the training that you're going to get back to, unless we get off this tangent, we're through that training and stuff, we've learned how to take our lived experience and accompany it with this batch of tools, and then take our experience and say, well, I've been there too, and let me tell you the tool that I use to get me to this step, and maybe that'll work for you, or this other tool might work for you. So that's what's so, it's that connection and that vulnerability that makes people listen, as opposed to when you come in and you have that sterile clipboard and that person sitting there and they're talking about a book chapter that they read 3 years ago. That's a very different experience, and people can open up in a different way when it's what you're describing.
Yeah, exactly. So the program, and again, getting back to, and I'm gonna go off again on a tangent. So we talk about that, and again, that's why I love, like, knock out the stigma, right? Because there is such a stigma attached, um to being, it's like you yourself, you're a very manly man, right? And like, you're a man's man, and I think, whatever that means, right? You know what I mean?
Raw.
Whatever that means. I myself, uh I don't know, whatever that means, in the sense of where we've been in situations where there's, and often there's so much stigma to attached. If you admit to having mental health issues, it's like you're somehow weak.
It's a
you know
sign of weakness. Our current president is always talking about signs of weakness, and there's a very big impression somehow in this society that you have to be strong all the time, and that you have to be in armor of informable circumstance every step. I hear you.
yeah, that somehow, yeah, so with that, when we identify as a peer, it's like when I go around just being from Project Return, and if people know what Project Return is, or if I explain to them what Project Return is, there's an instant rapport. There's an instant affinity for each other, right? It's like,
Right.
wow, oh, okay, so that's one thing we do as peers. It's like that connection sometimes is already there, right? Just knowing that you identify as a peer, right? So that's one. Coming back to the program, um, we focus on the recovery model, right? Really, and we talk about hope, empowerment, self responsibility, meaningful roles, right? So we definitely focus on that, right? Because for me, the and for our organization, the goal of our program, the goal of the training, is to transform the mental health system, right? It's to transform it. I mean, we want to train peers, we want to see them employed, we want to see their lives changed, and at the same time we want to see them out there transforming the system, making the system more human, less sterile, more filled with love and support and those things, rather than what it traditionally has been, right? So there's a lot of talk about being person centered and recovery model oriented and all this stuff out there in the system, and that's not always the case, because it is a human system, and people carry with them their stigma, the stigmas that they hold, the stereotypes that they hold, the discrimination that they hold, those views that they have. um so they may speak it but they don't walk it, and so our goal is to send people out there who really talk the talk and walk the walk, right? That truly care, and again, they identify um on that core, at that core level, right? There's no we want people to leave knowing that they're no better, right? That they're no better than anyone, no worse than anyone either, right? I'm no better than no anyone, but I'm no worse either, right? It's like I may deal with different things, than you do, and I have different experiences than you do, and I may have done worse things than you do, but that doesn't define who I am, right? And that,
Right.
yeah, that goes for the same for everyone else, so really, that whole person, looking at the whole person, et cetera, et cetera. um so we do our best, again, to arm people with the tools that they need in order to be an effective, to provide effective services out there, right? And part of that is, and I'm just thinking, this week we had our hop training, which is the honest, open, proud,
Whew.
so yeah, so that's always deep, that's always really deep. It's a deep training. And we really come together. That's when the cohorts always come together. We go and we place that, we front end that purposely, because that's when people come together. People share their stories, and it's a beautiful thing. And we have people that have been in recovery for long periods of time. We have people who've been in recovery for short periods of time, right? But they're all ready, and when they share their stories, it's always amazing to me uh, that many will always be like, I never, I've never been with a group of people who I may have been with a group of people before who've been through the same things I had, experienced many of the same things I had, but we never talked about it, or I never knew, so it's just when we open up, John T, he's one of our trainers, he does the motivation interviewing, he's on our board, but he talks about opening up your kimono, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he he always says that's the analogy, right? It's opening up your kimono. It's kimono, it's exposing yourself, and it can be difficult, but when we do open up our kimono, other peoples are able to see, they're able to see us, and with all our flaws, and then they're more able to accept their flaws, and they're more able to heal. They'll see our wounds, and they're more able to heal from their wounds. So it gets really, really deep, and I see the power in the effective sharing of our stories, right? And that's one of the things with peers, with us traditionally. There's because one of the things we've been asked to do is share our stories, right? And whether it's for, sometimes it's just for, um I want to say, to put on a show for service providers, right?
Right.
um rather than for the person who's receiving services, right? Oftentimes we could share our stories to help encourage, etc., do all those things. um but we really need to focus and look. It's like, okay, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this for the person I'm providing services for? And it's okay to do it for you. It's okay for me to do it for me, but I also have to know when it comes time, if I'm a place in my recovery where I'm providing services now, this is I'm supposed to be out here for you, not for me. So if I'm going to share my story, it has to be for your benefit, not for my benefit, right? Although it's going to help me regardless, right? Because whatever I do for you is going to also help me. It's going to be gratifying, and add some I don't want to say add some meaning to my life, but add some meaning to my life, right?
And the whole purpose of the training that Jason's describing, the hop training, it was one of the most transformative experiences I've ever had in a specific module. But the whole purpose is to teach us, as he's saying, to take our stories and to make them very constructive, and useful for, on behalf of the people that we're working with, as we become a practitioner and using our peer experience to become trained specialists. And that's what is very empowering in the experience, is that you're able to get, in the training itself, just for me to reflect for a second, it was my empathy muscle was really exercised that day. I had to take in all of these amazing stories. It was almost like what you just described at the gas station, right? Except for this was a controlled environment that we were prepared to be there. But I listened to not only, and the very cool thing is that all of the facilitators, including yourself, everybody that was in the room, shared. And so the depth of the experiences for me, and when it was my turn this year, I felt like I didn't have anything to say. I was like, well, man, after listening to all these journeys, my journey was a piece of cake. I'm embarrassed to share that I was depressed because of the things that I had to face. But it was so empowering for my own share, but to learn. And then I gained so much respect for everybody, for the people that they were being in that moment, and the people that they were being every day, showing up to the program in spite of all of these challenges and hurdles and pits and everything that they had experienced in their past journey. And that they overcame that. It was a room full of powerful warriors and recovery Hall of Famers. It was amazing, and it was inspiring, and it pushes me to be here with you to have this conversation today, because of those stories I heard in that room, over at Project Return.
Yeah. Yeah, and it always yeah, it always amazes me. It always amazes me to see, again, like you said, and I always feel humbled. I'm always humbled by it. And I think that is so important when it comes to us and what we do, when we talk about that peer support, um and being a peer, identifying a peer, is listening. It's such a great gift that we give, and that we really want to hear. We learn. It's like, I want to hear your story. I want to know what's going on. How did Don end up here? What is it? How did you end up here? Right. And not only how you ended up here, now where are we going? Right. Which direction are we going in? And that looks different for everybody, right? Because happiness looks different for everyone. Being content and at peace and experiencing some serenity looks different for everyone. And some people, that could be in the midst of chaos. That's where people want to be. And other people, it looks different. It could be my cats. My cats around me, surrounded by four cats and my wife. That's being at peace. That's, yeah.
the cats the cats would be a challenge for me, because I'm allergic, so that in and of itself would be a challenge. And all of this is the segue, is that, this whole video that we're making is for the well-being exchange, and the concept that I was inspired, really in part, sitting in that room for all of those weeks. It's a 6-week program. And I was thinking that it would be so powerful if we could take all of this talent that's in this room with me, all of my peers and the trainers, including yourself, and be able to dispatch them to New Zealand and to the Congo and to Mississippi, and not just to what's going on right there in central Los Angeles or northern Orange County. And now this conversation is happening, and it's an open invitation to all the certified peer specialists out there to come into the well-being exchange and start to connect. And we're looking to build a community for us to grow together as peer specialists, and then to build our practices and to dispatch our skills and our life experiences to help others who are seeking well-being. So it's such a wonderful experience to have you here with me today, Jason. It's to think back of the days I was taking the bus. I was riding the bus all across Los Angeles, It was a really uh, emotionally draining experience. So I was tired all the time because of the work that we were putting in every day, and to look back on it and uh, I see on Snapchat, I see Lizzie, and I see other people doing their stuff on social media, and that they're out there. And it's so awesome to see, and it's really inspiring. And so when people ask, when they're looking at this, so they know that you're running this program and this project. So how did you become a peer specialist? How did you become the head of training peer specialists? What's your story, Jason? How did you get here?
By a series of accidents, coincidences.
Happy accidents.
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest thing that brought me here, looking back, right, is okay. So again, and I don't know how far back we want to go, but when I was a child, they knew something was wrong with me, right? I was one of those kids, right?
That's what my mom said. She said, "Baby, we knew something, but they didn't have a name for it."
They knew, and they're like, but I got the message I received was that I was broken, I was bad, and no good, and all those type of things. Um, in trouble with school, elementary school, sent to a therapist, send me, they told my mom, take me to therapist. Went to the therapist, and this old white guy, right? It made me feel worse, right? It was just a validation that I was broken and I was bad, So um following that, it's like, after elementary school, very quickly got into drugs and alcohol and the neighborhood gang, all those things, right? Within our communities. And I'm not proud of the things I did, or that I took part in, but uh and not to rationalize anything, but that was normal in my neighborhood, right? um Due to economics, disenfranchisement, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, by the time I was 16, I was incarcerated, and I ended up spending 27 years incarcerated. um gang related murder, etc. So um during that time, it took me a long time to one, deal with my issues because of the stigma that was attached, right? And when I say
Right.
stigma, there was there was a real stigma. I mean, in the sense of beat you down, stab you type stigma, right? So and I laugh about it, but it really isn't funny, So that was the stigma that was attached. So it took a long time for me to experience recovery, for me to truly work on me, and so I did that independently in small groups, with peers, with my peers that I was able to work with, right? Because you couldn't work with, the man, and I didn't trust the man anyway, right?
And how did you get access to those first set of peers? How did you get those
My
peers?
first was through the 12 step, through the 12
Okay.
step groups. Yeah. So when I first went to, and again, series of coincidences, right, I ended up in the 12 step program, and I wouldn't have gone if we had been locked in a cell and they cracked my door, and it's like, okay, well, I could sit here in the cell, or I could
You
go.
need somewhere to go, right?
Yeah, it's like I could get out of the cell, so I'm gonna get out of the cell. So I went and I met these older guys who had been who had been in a lot longer than I had, right? So, at that time, that was in 1993, I'd been in for 9 years, right? So now we're talking, I'm 25 years old. Um, and a lot of these guys are in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. They've been around a lot longer. And so they're doing more positive things, right? They're doing positive things. And so they started teaching me some positive things, and I really started being more self-aware and looking at my life and looking at myself. So we from there, I mean, jump forward, um, got in and I became a peer mentor in a teaching and therapeutic community, but as they called it in prison, substance abuse program. So officially it's a substance abuse program. The organization, the Amity Foundation, it's a teaching and therapeutic community. So again, there we got a lot. I was able to experience a lot of recovery as being a peer mentor, and was able to facilitate groups, take part in a lot more recovery groups, work with a psychologist, when we're putting together these groups and doing these things, and just becoming a lot more active in the positive aspect of my community. So coming home, then jump forward, coming home, um, could not get a job. I couldn't get a job. Um, and I ended up in the Mental Health America Jumpstart Fellowship Program,
Mm-hmm.
where I met one of my mentors, Anna Littleford. So Anna, so before I was even out of that program, I was able to be employed. I was employed as a case manager with an independent living center. And then from there, um, I kept in touch with Anna, and I became job placement coordinator for that same independent living center. And then I started doing employment services training while she taught me how to do trainings, and uh, in particular, like a meaningful roles training, employment services training. And then I started doing trainings for them for that same program. And then when the employment specialist position came open for Project Return, I applied for it and I got that position. And 7 months later, the training coordinator moved on. And then I started doing both positions and ended up with that position and doing more trainings and continuing to learn how to do trainings and just try to stay up on um, what we need, what peers need, what trainings we need. And I very much enjoy being able to bring back the graduates and have them do trainings. This last session we had our case manager training was done by a graduate. Our HOP training is done by graduates of the training. Our case management, our effective peer support, done by graduates. The RAP is done by a graduate. Like just so many of our trainings are done by graduates of the program, and I love that. I love that, and I want to see actually more of that.
Oh,
So
it's that one. Just thank you so much for sharing. Your journey and your recovery story a little bit with us, because it's inspirational, and someone hopefully will be able to connect with it. But really, thank you for staying in it. And what do they say? It works if you work it, right? And for your diligence, I got to benefit from your training and from the program that you're overseeing, and all of us that went through in my cohort. Every day I could rely upon that when I got there, Jason was going to be there with a smile on his face and to guide us through whatever was happening that day. And that's a great deal of responsibility that you earned and owned so well, sir. So I say thank you for that example. And in the last interview, I was interviewing a gentleman named Cedric Wells, and afterwards he was like, "Well, I guess now that I've done this interview, and I gotta live up to it." Right. And that and that's actually a part of it, because you have this huge community of people that you've helped develop, and each one of us want to live up to the example that you set, and I guess you have to live up to it too, man. You got big shoes to fill every morning when you wake up and get out the shower, dog.
and I only do that with the support of you all and my team there. Big shout out to our director, Guyton. Love him, Guyton Colantuano, our associate director, Angelica Garcia, um, the employment specialist, Hortensia. She puts up with me, which isn't easy to do. So yeah, definitely, definitely.
You definitely have to take greetings, tidings, and a hug and namaste back to Guyton, Angelica, and Hortensia for me, because I love everyone over there. Everyone that I encountered is such a wonderful being. So please send my love and my respects and tidings that way.
All right, I will, and I'll share this with them.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So thank you so much for being with us, Jason. We're starting life coaching groups. We're looking to invite other peer specialists, other trainers, other tools, modalities outside of specifically just the mental health aspect of well-being, because well-being is a multi-dimensional thing. It's about our physical health, You know, it's about our environment. How do we keep our bedroom? How do we keep our office? How do we keep our car? All these things play into our overall well-being. So it's an invitation, and I look forward to having some more conversations with you. Tell Guyton that he actually owes me a couple of drinks, and we said we were going to do dinner and wrap it up. But this whole thing is about creating an inventory so that people can come in and find stories and connections in their underwear at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so hopefully somebody will connect with Jason Garcia at the very near future. And I want to come back and be a part of what you guys are doing and be a good alumnus and contribute, because it was a very, very powerful program. And I'll plug it one more time: Project Return, Peer Support Network.org, PRPSN.org.
Got it.
Check it out. Check it out. The
Thank you, John.
Wellbeing Exchange. I'm Don West Jr. This is Jason Garcia. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Jason, do you have a parting shot for the people? What's your final word, Jason? I'd like to have a final word from my guest.
Okay, so I'll say troubles shared are halved, right? We share our troubles with each other, we have them, right? Joy shared are double. So yeah, just know that and do that. Act on that.
Troubles shared are half, joys shared are doubled. Thank you so much, brother Jason. Thank you for being a contribution to my life. Don West Jr., the Wellbeing Exchange, Jason Garcia. We're out of here. Namaste. That was dope, dog.
Okay, all right.